Welcome to Cerner View-Only Mode Training. The View-Only mode of Cerner PowerChart is designed for clinic staff and for clinicians who refer patients to the hospital and receive patients for care, but do not come to the hospital routinely to administer care. If you are a physician and you have full privileges at the hospital and you frequently care for patients in the hospital, you will have other types of training that is more in-depth. This mode of Cerner is quite simple, makes it easy for you to access things like radiology reports, insurance information, lab information. In fact, it makes it easier to find this information, and it's more comprehensive than our current portal system has been. Our first step is going to be to get into the system. We use a website called Storefront, or storefront.stdom.com, to access our current apps, which includes McKesson Portal. In the future, once we go live, we'll have a new icon called PowerChart. So first, I'm going to go to this website. I'll type in, up here in this web bar, I'll type in storefront.stdom.com. In this case, I'm not going to, I'm going to use a different one, but you'll type in storefront.stdom.com, and you'll see this page, and you'll go ahead and log in using what we call AD credentials. These are Active Directory username and password assigned by the hospital. If you already have one, it'll be the same one that you currently have. So for instructional purposes, I'm going to go back to the Cerner Works mode, and I'm going to log in on this screen, and I'll see a screen similar to this with icons. So I'll log in here with my AD credentials. And I will find the PowerChart icon. That window will not appear in the final version. Dragon Medical 1 automatically loads if you have access to it, if you're a doctor who frequents the hospital, but otherwise you don't have to worry about that. That will not appear when you go into your view-only mode. You'll get this user name and password screen, and you will log in with your AD credentials once again. In this case, I'm just going to type in view-only. The message screen opens up, but for the most part, you shouldn't see any messages. The main thing to understand in Cerner is how to search for a patient. One way to search is just to click on this little magnifying glass icon right here, and it pulls up a separate window. And this way I can use any number of identifiers to find a patient. So I'll type in this case, Quality Connect Lindsay, and I pull up her medical record number, date of birth, age, and down here in this window you'll see all of the separate encounters the patient has had at the hospital. And you'll notice it's broken down by what we call a FIN number, or financial identification number. That gives the admit date and the discharge date. So if you're interested in a certain encounter, make sure you click on the right one to pull that one up. I go to this last completed one. If you notice, this one has actually not been closed, so this patient is still technically admitted. So I'll get this one, I'll click on this patient. I can double click and to pull the chart up. But just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to cancel this and show you another way to search for patients. Now, if you've been using view-only mode and have looked at a few patients, and perhaps the physician in your office says, hey, can I see some more information on this chart, or can you pull it up? You can go up here to recent and see the last 9 patients and pick any of them. In this name icon, let's say you have an idea of a name, but you're not quite sure of the spelling. If you type in the first 3 letters of the last name, put a comma, no space, and then type in the first 3 letters of the first name, in this case, Quality Connect Lindsay. So just the first three letters, comma, and the first three letters of the first name. So this is last name, first name. Hit enter, and then I'll have more choices up here. I'll have everybody who has a Quality Connect Lindsay, Quality Connect Linda, and so it was Lindsay that I wanted. It was this encounter that I wanted. I can click OK, or I can just double click, and I will be in the patient's chart. Now let's acclimate ourselves to the title bar. You'll have the patient's name here next to an X, so you can close the chart if you want to close it. You'll have the allergies. I can click that and actually go to the allergies module down here, but I won't do that. Date of birth, the age. You'll have the encounter number, the financial encounter number, and the admit date and discharge date. If you were to click on that, you'll get the breakdown of the encounters, previous location, and the attending. Up here, you'll have the home button. Home button will always bring you back here. If I click somewhere and I get lost, I can always click home, and I'll come back to my results review screen. You have the full screen mode here and the print mode, so you can actually print. At full screen, it just cleans it up a bit. Normal view. Now going down to the results viewer, very simple navigation. You have recent results, which should be the last 30 to 60 days of results. Same with lab. The lab extended simply means it's going back much longer. You'll see this is showing results for 3 months. Very nice trended view. If I want to see other types of lab, that's CBC, but I can scroll and simply scroll to see others, or I can use this navigation bar to jump to different parts. Notice that every window will have this bar which will let you tailor a little more to what you want to see. 3 dots means you have an opportunity to customize the views. You just want hematology, you just want chemistry. You can change the way it's grouped. So now you've basically switched the columns and rows, and you're seeing it by date here and results here. And there's a list view as well. So they're just listed in a typical format like you might get printed out in the office or in the EMR. But the table is a nice view. That's the way our current portal system will trend results. Pathology show biopsy results, microbiology, blood cultures, urine cultures, wound cultures. Imaging will show any of your x-rays. This being a test patient, it says in progress, but you could double click anywhere after a result and get the report to pop up here. And there'll be a report, and likely there'll be access to the images as well. That's to be finalized, but I anticipate that to be in the view-only mode as well. And here's a nice feature. You can look at the vital signs, which is nice when we're asking our primary physicians in the community to help manage our patients with hypertension or heart failure. So that's the results reviewer in a nutshell, and that's where you'll get primary information as well as the documentation window down here. So in fact, since that window is so important, I'm going to go straight to the documentation, because actually majority of these areas are not going to be that helpful unless you just want to get a quick look at the diagnosis of problems. I'll explain that in a minute. Allergies, the others are really not that helpful. So we'll go to the documentation window. Now all the documentation is listed in chronological order by default. Actually, it'll say all. And you can just click over here and look at different documents, or you can use these little buttons right here and say next note, next note, next note. but that can be cumbersome. So you can use this window to change your view and look at all physician notes. So you'll actually see the H&Ps. This being a test patient, it does not actually have the written H&Ps, but in a real chart, you'll see all the information you need. Another option is to use only view. Say I only want to see information from a certain date or a certain author, a certain note type. So I can actually click here, and if I want just a certain note type, discharge documentation, H&P, I can do that. Or I can use this little details view to launch the advanced filters dialog. And now I can actually tailor a view that I want to use every single time and save it. So if I wanted this view just to have cardiology procedures, consultation notes, correspondence, discharge documentation, emergency documentation, face sheets, history and physicals, perhaps you wanted the progress notes, radiology, reference lab, then I could apply that, and I could save this filter. Now, if you go up here and click, you'll see it as one of your choices under personal filters, and there it is. So that's what I would recommend, is find a view that has everything you want to see in one place, and then just use that every time. And it will remain. If I create a filter and I leave it on testing 2, when I come back, it will still be on testing 2. I can click here to change the order, or even group by type. So that's the documentation window in a nutshell. And just for the remaining features, diagnosis and problems. A diagnosis is the condition the patient presented at the hospital with that was actually managed and treated in the hospital. So if someone showed up with acute diverticulitis, in the assessment plan in the notes, you'll see acute diverticulitis, and you would see it in the diagnosis, the problem list, in the diagnosis problem list. But the problems list, think of that as your past medical history down here, and that's all those will feed into the past medical history of the discharge summary and the history and physical. You'll see lines through inactive problems. See, this system will not let you delete problems. When you add a problem and it's a mistake or it resolves, you have to inactivate it. So you'll see a line through it. If you want to clean that up, you can go over here and just say, I want to see active problems only. Allergies. Once again, I can see the allergies here, so this is a little redundant. Patient information. You can see demographics, identifiers, visit information, which includes health plan information. And there's another summary page which shows relationships with different physicians. Since our hospital is primarily a geriatric hospital, you may not see a lot under immunization schedule, unless it's perhaps a NICU patient. But primarily our more geriatric population receives flu vaccinations. MAR is not functioning, and then you have your documentation once again. So that wraps up this short training module on the view-only mode of Cerner Power Chart. I hope you find it helpful. Have a great day.